Authorities arrest two Mexican businessmen with San Antonio ties. Alonso Ancira C., head of Altos Hornos de Mexico, arrives to court in Palma de Mallorca on May 29, 2019, after being arrested on the Spanish island. The two Mexican businessmen with financial ties to San Antonio, one who faces fraud charges and one who moved to Texas after he was accused of pilfering millions from his savings and loan, have been arrested. Spanish police arrested Alonso Ancira on the Spanish island of Mallorca last week as part of a corruption sweep by Mexico's new president. Ancira, the cousin of San Antonio auto dealer Ernesto Ancira Jr., faces allegations that he defrauded Mexico's state-run oil company, Pemex, according to a news release from the Mexican federal prosecutor. In the second case, immigration officials in San Antonio said they have detained Rafael Olvera Amezcua, the former owner of a failed savings and loan in Mexico. Olvera has been accused of embezzling as much as $100 million from depositors and moving the money to the U.S. Found companies connected to Olvera purchased more than 100 pieces of real estate in Indiana, San Antonio and Indiana, Florida, while the alleged fraud was happening. Officials with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement wouldn't say why they are holding Olvera, but online records show he's being held at the South Texas detention facility in Pearsall. A Florida lawyer, Olvera, who has kept a low profile and isn't well known in San Antonio, fled Mexico nearly 5 years ago after his savings and loan, FICRIA, collapsed into insolvency. Ancira is better known here through his philanthropy and business deals. A parking tower, Mexico's Treasury Department announced before he was arrested last week that it was freezing bank accounts connected to Ancira and former Pemex head Emilio Lozoya Austin. According to Mexico, a spokesman for the Spanish judiciary said a judge ordered Ancira held in jail while Mexico pursues his extradition. Pemex, the state-run oil company, bought the Altos Hornos nitrogen producer in 2014 for $275 million. But the Mexican government, in a statement on its website, Altos Hornos said Pemex officials had been to the site and knew the condition of the plants they were purchasing. Ancira's arrest comes as Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who took office last year, tries to make good on promises to address corruption and impunity. In recent weeks, this is an easy area for Mr. López Obrador to gain points, said Federico Espé, a political science professor in Mexico City. He doesn't have to. Ancira has faced allegations of misconduct in the past, and for nearly 2 years in the early 2000s lived in Israel to avoid what he called persecution by previous Mexican presidents. The Alonso Ancira Tower on the UA campus was completed in 2009. Lou Agnes Jr. It actually was steel, he never gave us any money, Agnes said. Ancira also offered to restore the city's Spanish missions. But perhaps residents of the border city of Eagle Pass, which is 7 miles from the mine, have waged an unsuccessful effort for decades to halt work there. No one answered the phone at the Southtown offices of Ancira's nonprofit this week. Neither Ernesto and, in the Olvera case, the FICRIA savings and loan collapsed in 2014 and depositors lost billions of pesos, more than $350 million at the time. Mexico's bank, he owns residences in San Antonio and Florida through limited liability companies, according to a 2016 lawsuit. A trustee charged with liquidating FICRIA's assets alleged that $100 million from FICRIA's depositors was transferred to a pair of Mexican companies controlled by Olvera, then to bank accounts in the US and Europe. The lawsuit alleges that Olvera used the money to qualify for a foreign investment visa in the US, and eventually a provisional green card. The day he was detained, a spokesman for the Mexican Attorney General's office did not respond to questions Friday about whether Olvera has outstanding warrants in that country.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot bar. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.